My name is Dr. Ann Kiki, and I am proudly serving Aurora Public Schools as the Board of Director and the current president. Welcome this evening. I am very excited to see you. Again, thank you for taking the time out of your evening to join us. And also thank you for electing me as your representative. And as your representative on the school board, it is important that we, as the board of 7, out often in the community to engage with you. And that's the purpose this evening. We are here because we figured it is time to come back to you and share again the values and the vision that we have as a community. So if you remember, in 2020, the board then hosted quite a few community engagement sessions to ask the community and find out what the community's hope and dreams are for the future of our students. We also ask you about what the value of the community, the values of the community are. And from that engagement, we developed what we call the visions and the values, right? So what do we mean by vision? Our vision means what we expect our students to know years from now. And our values are the things that we hold very dear and that we don't want to compromise on. And here in a few minutes, I will go into more details and show you what those values are and what those visions are. So from the visions and the values, we then develop what we call the results and the limitations. So think of the results and limitations as a grade on a report card, for example, that measure how we are doing. So in our case here, it's how we're doing as a district as a whole. And we as a board, we want to make sure that we are improving, right? And also that we are holding the superintendent accountable to meet those expectations. So, and lastly, we are also here because we want to hear from you. We want to engage in conversation with you and see how we're doing so far, right? And what we want our future to look like. Quite a few things have happened since 2020, right? So it's only fair that we get back with you, engage with you again to kind of reevaluate everything. So I just want you to know that we are going to, over the course of 6 months, engage and re-engage with you to talk about those results and limitations, because we believe that it is time to change it a little bit, and we want your input on those results and limitations if you want our values and our visions. How does that sound? All right, so let's start. So what do we mean again? Maybe that would help. What do we mean again when we say our vision? Basically, when we say visions, we mean what we think our students should be able to know and also how well they're performing so far. Okay, so as you can see here, our vision is focused on 4 things. First, early literacy. So how reading and writing is looking like for our youngest students. It also means high school graduation. And it also means equity. But our equity work is divided into 2. And when we say equity, we mean closing the gap, the achievement gap. As you know, historically, here in Colorado and even in the nation, there has been a gap between Caucasian students and Asian students performing at a higher rate than their counterpart, Hispanic and Black. And here in APS, we are striving to close this gap. And as I said, our equity is in 2 prongs. 6th grade, Black and Hispanic, and also 9th grade, Black and Hispanic. So these are the 4 board results listed here that we monitor. And this is what we've planned out and focused on for the last 5 years. Of course, we've had to make adjustments. As I said earlier, a lot have happened. The pandemic. After the pandemic, we had to figure out a new baseline, right? And started measuring from there to track our progress. So you can see that we look at CMAS, which is one of the state measure of academic success. That's the statewide assessment that students in certain grades take every year. In this case, it's on the elementary side or elementary level. And that helps us measure, the state uses that to measure their readiness for college or career. And it also tests students in literacy, so reading, writing, math, science, all of that, all comprehensive. And then second, we look at high school graduation. That's the percentage of students who are graduating from Aurora Public Schools in 4 years. And the last type of data that we track for our results are the PSAT test scores. The PSAT test scores are preliminary scholastic aptitude tests. And typically these are given to our sophomores and our juniors. And they take that PSAT to see where they are, and those who earn highest scores on that PSAT can even earn national merit scholarships, and that have happened here in Aurora in the past. So I'm gonna pause here and see if there are any questions. Okay, hearing none. So these are our vision. Again, there are 4. We crafted these visions, this vision with you, the community. On the board, we call them results. Okay, we're gonna dig a little bit deeper now on that. So let's start. The result or division, and you're going to hear me alternate with those words, those two words. The first result or the first vision is early literacy. There, we are looking at the percentage of third grade students who are proficient, meaning they're meeting the state level expectation for English language arts and literacy. Think of it as reading and writing on grade level. One reason is that it's important because research shows that early literacy, early indicator of student success. This is early indicator of student success, sorry. So students who read and write at grade level, by the time they're in third grade, typically have higher level of success. And even beyond. So let's go over that a little bit. What does that mean? If you look here, you're going to see that for 2023, you see the targets, you see the actual results. For the year 23-24, our target was 21%. The actual result was 20.5. Where you see the blanks, there were no targets. However, you can see the results those years. In 24, the target is 24.4%. And as we go forward in 25-26 school year, we get a little bit more aggressive, going up to 28.2%. That is the first vision. Let's move on to the second vision or the second result. Remember, we have 4. The second vision is the high school graduation. Here, we are looking at the percentage of high school students who graduate from APS within 4 years. And you can see the targets percentage and then our actual percentage below as well. For here, for this result, the target in year 23-24 was 76, but the actual result was 72. If you want to round it up, 73%. We're close. We're very close. I have no doubt we will hit that mark by 24. And as you can see, in year 25-26, again, we're a little bit more aggressive. This is important because we want every single student to earn their high school diploma and walk across the stage ready to tackle the world, equipped to tackle the world. It is very important. And just note that there's a lot of work that goes behind in supporting those students. We have incredible counselors to help them, teachers, of course, graduation coaches, college and career center advisors, all of that, all this group of people to support them and make sure that in 4 years they are ready. One graduation requirement that every student must meet is demonstrating the mastery in the core subjects such as math and also reading, writing, and communication, or if you want, ELA, English language arts. Student can do that by earning a certain score on the SAT or the ACT assessment, or they can pass a college level class or earn credit and earn credit to demonstrate mastery. That's called a menu of options. So in a nutshell, in APS, we do offer our high school students a menu of options that they can pick from to make sure that they're ready, a menu of options that they can pick that makes sense to them to get them ready and graduating within 4 years. That's the second vision, the second result. Moving on to the third vision or the third result. That is one of our equity measure. Remember, I spoke of 2 equity measures. This is the first one. And it, again, remember, this is about closing the achievement gap. So specifically, in this case, we look at 6th grade Black and Hispanic students who are on grade level, again, in literacy and in math. We want this percentage to increase over time, and you can see here what our targets are. So if we wanted to go over the targets, you see, again, the blanks, those years had no targets, and still, you can see the actual results. And in 23, school year 23-24, we did the target, we set specific target, which was 14.8. And the actual result was 14.6. It's very close to hitting that mark. Again, I am optimistic that this year, school year 24-25, we will hit the target of 17.3% because we're working diligently monitoring that. And our leadership is also making sure that the strategies are in place to hit that. And as you can see, same process in school year 25-26, we get a little bit more aggressive, moving up to 20%, meaning we want our students, 20% of our students to be reading and doing math at grade level on the 6th grade, for our 6th grade Black and Hispanic students. That takes us to the 4th vision, or the 4th result, and the last that the board monitors. And that is our equity measure for our 9th grade Black and Hispanic students. Same process. We want them to be at grade level in literacy and in math. And we want this percentage as well to increase so that the achievement gap is closed. And here you can also see the actual results and the targets. For school year 23-24, the target was 19.4%, and the result was 14.8%. For school year 24-25, the target is 17%. Even though we did not actually hit our actual results for last year, I am confident that with the level of aggression that we have and the strategies that we have, we will be able to meet that target. And then in the school year 25-26, we're even more aggressive, looking at 22%. I am confident with Aurora Public Schools wanting to be the destination district, we will hit that target. Confident and hopeful. So again, I am going to pause here and entertain questions about our vision or our results? Hearing none, let's go ahead and reflect on our values now. Or if you would, our limitation. For you, the community, this is your values. And for us, the board, as we monitor that, we will call it limitation. Now, again, these are the values that you have shared that are non-negotiable. Okay, no matter what happens, we are not going to change that. No matter the challenges, we are not going to change that. That's why they're non-negotiable. Those values were shaped by you, and those were shared during the feedback sessions that we've had with you in the year 2020, if we remember those sessions of engagement with you. So along our journey to our results, the community's values, we believe, must be protected, which we do by creating those specific limitations, and here they are, on the superintendent's authority. All that means is the board, when the board hires the superintendent, the board automatically delegates all operational authority to the superintendent. And what happens is we set those limitations to kind of limit, again, his authority. And those, we got them from you, the community. And as I said, no matter what the challenges that occur in APS, in the world, in Aurora, we don't negotiate on those and they don't change. You can think of these as what we have to protect at all costs, no matter what, again. So we talk about protecting our values through our limitations. For you, the community, it's your values, non-negotiable. For us, as we monitor those, there are the limitations. I'm gonna, again, toggle between those two words. So what are those? And we are going to get into, in details, into them here soon. But those are diversity, equity, and inclusion, the whole child, stakeholder engagement, student and family climate and culture, and also staff retention gap. We will go over them. I want to give you 2 seconds to read what's on the board here. All right. Let's dive a little deeper into each one of them. Remember, we have 5 values of 5 limitations. Okay. Let's start with limitation number 1, which talks about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Remember, this is what our community, you, the community, shared with us that we need as a value when we were gathering feedbacks from you to develop our results and limitations. Each of our limitations, with each of our limitations, the superintendent provides an interpretation, and the interpretation is what you see right on my left side. And these interpretations are for how he plans to make sure that we keep this as value. You can see for this you can see for this limitation, he focuses on making sure that we have a clear understanding of what DEI means for our district at all levels, for students, for families, for staff, all levels. He also will make sure that our DEI framework is in place when making any major decision. Then lastly, he will ensure that we have systems and structures of accountability in place so that diversity, equity, and inclusion is truly embedded in the culture of Aurora Public Schools. That you said was important to us. That you said you wanted to see. That you said as a community was not negotiable. And you're right, because our district is one of the most diverse in Aurora. It is only important that we make sure that everyone feels included, that we show our diversity and that equity rings at all levels. Let's talk about limitation number 2, and that is directly pertaining to our students. And it's about meeting the need of the whole child. So no matter how much we want to focus on improving academic achievement, we can't give up meeting the needs of the whole child. So what does that mean, the need of the whole child? It means including art, providing art, music, physical education, social emotional learning, and mental health for all of our students, not some, not 0.5 or 1/4, all of our students. So as you can see here, the superintendent's interpretation, again, the left-hand side here details that the learning experience of our students need to meet both the academic and developmental needs. It also says that we need art, we need music, we need PE, we need social emotional learning and mental health support at all grade level, in all learning environment. Very important. They all come together. We want to make sure that our students feel seen. We want to make sure that they're mentally ready and that the social emotional learning is also at the level where it's supposed to be. Again, his interpretation is on the left-hand side, and that's what informed his work for the whole child. Let's move on to limitation number 3. Or if you want, value number 3. That's stakeholder engagement. We don't want to rush, into decision as a board without learning about feedback from our stakeholders. And when we say stakeholders, what do we mean? Families, students, community members, such as you. We also staff. Staff also is our stakeholders. Their opinion matters. Their feedback matters, right? And so you see here in the superintendent interpretation, this is not only providing engagement opportunity, but also working to meaningfully engage all of these different group, different community groups. Especially when we want to make major decision, vote on major issues as a board, under our policy BEDB. And one may ask, what is policy BEDB, right? That's the policy that really inform the boards with our meeting agenda, how our agenda is set, and also it determines the items that the board has to take action on. I see our legal counsel here, like making sure that I say that right. Yes, and I can give you an example of one major decision that we vote on, and before doing that, we engage the community on boundary, APS boundary changes, for example. We do go to the community, we do ask students, yes, we do ask staff their feedback. Even on school closures, another example. We don't just come as the board of 7 and say, okay, we pick school A, let's close it, superintendent, go and do that. No. It goes through a strong process by engaging everyone that I cited as stakeholder before we make the decision of keeping that school open or closing it. And again, you can see his interpretation of stakeholder engagement that inform the work that we do. Let's move on to limitation number 4 that the board monitors. That has to do with students and family, climate, and culture. The superintendent has to make sure that our schools and sites are safe, dignified, respectful, and inclusive for all. And you can see again on my left-hand side, his interpretation that details that this means making sure that students and family feel both physically and psychologically safe. But I want to push further. Here we say students and families, but trust me, we also care about our staff. It's important that they feel, safe both physically and psychologically. And that also we are culturally responsive and have inclusive environment for all. That's what this limitation is. And in his interpretation here, it explains all of that. And we do monitor that and make sure that it is true. Last but not least is our staff retention gap. This one focuses on staff retention gap. We want our students to see educators or teachers, if you want, who look like them in our classroom. Remember, I talked earlier about how diverse our body of students is. We want the same for our instructors, our teachers. So that limitation here states that the superintendent will not allow the retention rate of Black and Hispanic educators to be significantly below the overall retention rate of all educators. plain, simple, what it means. We want our students to see themselves in the teachers. So again, the superintendent's interpretation is on my left-hand side, if you would, and this means that we should maintain a teaching force that is really reflective of students, of the students we serve in terms of diversity, but in this specific case, with attention to racial diversity. It is important. There is something magical about students being able to see themselves in the instructors in front of them, in the teachers in front of them. So you, the community, have charged the board to make sure that the superintendent keeps a certain percentage of staff that is racially diverse. And that we monitor. This is our last value. So I'm going to pause here for questions on the 5 limitations or values that we've just discussed or reflected on. Okay. Hearing none. All right. So I want to remind you that we progress monitor both our results and limitation in depth during the first board meeting of every month. So the board meets twice a month, first Tuesday of the month and third Tuesday of the month. The first Tuesday is dedicated just to monitor those 4, right, visions that we talked about: high school graduation, early literacy, equity for 6th grade Hispanic and Black students, and equity for 9th grade Hispanic and Black students. And we also monitor the 5 values that we just looked at, or if you want, the limitations, which is, someone reminds me, diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? The whole child, right? What was the third one? Stakeholder. The stakeholder engagement, and the climate for climate and culture, and then the last one was the staff retention gap, correct. So now, if you wanted to see when to do the progress monitoring, or when we meet at all, you can scan the QR code here, and it will give you all the dates of our meeting, and as well as information on how to stream those meetings online. I want to remind you that there are chart papers throughout the room. I would really like to capture any initial feedback that you like to share. We want to know how we're doing so far. We want to know your thoughts on what we can do better, what we need to change, because we want to capture your voice again in this initial conversation. and then come back to you and have additional conversation on how to move forward.